Tonight, I know that icing on the cake is coming to listen to our fabulous guest speaker, Caroline Frisenberg. Caroline has been in the IT industry for several years, and she has been an expert in the field as a recruiter and a research consultant for many, many years, and then she decided to start her own business, Frisenberg J and Associates. And she's helped lots of companies to be very successful. She's done lots of companies with their sales operation and take them to the top. So if anybody wants to be successful, definitely have a chat with her later. And she, at the moment, is running a parallel business because she gives seminars at the International University in Monaco to the MBA students there. She helps them with their careers and making future plans. And tonight, she's going to educate us on the art of being interviewed in a multicultural society. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Caroline Frisenberg. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Beverly, for that lovely introduction. I'm just going to put this one on. So I noticed in the crowd tonight that we have a mix of entrepreneurs and also people that are looking for a career change, people that are looking to progress in their careers. So what I'm going to talk to you about tonight are two things. We're going to address two issues. What about the interview process? And we're going to go through LinkedIn, which is absolutely the most important tool for recruiters today and for businesses to increase your awareness. So that actually applies for all of you. Apart from what Beverly introduced me as she said, she was spot on. I have recruited mid-management level to all the way up to C-level, and also board members I have recruited all over Europe, Middle East and Africa. 17 countries I've recruited in over the last decade in various fields, and I also work in Monaco. Monaco is a great place for, as I live there, for networking on an international level, so that's also a reason why I have been successful. So we're going to go with the first part of this presentation tonight is about interview. How many of you have had a bad interview, or where you walked out the door and didn't feel that this didn't go 100%? Yeah. So it's very common. It's very common. I see. This is the process of an interview. You have the preparation part. You have the actual interview where you talk about the job itself. You have some pitfalls we're going to go through, and then you have the result of an interview. And in an interview, I would say it's around 75% success rate is based on your people skills and not on your competence. So your sales skills, your marketing skills, your IT skills, your yachting skills, whatever skills you have, that's not the focus. But this is usually what people put emphasis on. What they should do is to work on the preparation side. We're going to go through, I have put down questions which are very similar to the questions that Beverly mentioned before. What do you need to prepare prior to an interview? Because yes, you will have questions about how do you work on your website, how do you conduct sales, what kind of marketing strategy have you done before? But you know that. That's what you do every day. What people don't know usually is to answer these questions. And they need to be like instant. Why are you here? Very common question, and usually comes on the first one. So if you're not prepared, you basically ruin the entire interview. Tell me about yourself. Similar one. Who are you? Another way of putting it. What do we do? You know, if you're coming for an interview with me, what do I do? What do my company does? And then you need to have the same kind of pitch as you do about yourself. You are a multinational company selling this product in this area. You have this type of turnover, and these are your objectives. So that means you need to research. It's very easy to do that, but you need to have it like a running water. Just know it by heart before you go into that meeting. Why do you want to work here? So what are the reasons? Why do you want to have this particular job? Why do you want to work for this particular company? And you have to prepare that before the interview so you know 2 or 3 sentences on why this company. What can you bring to the table? It's another good one. Knowing your 5, let's say your 5 strengths. What can you actually bring? Is it experience? Is it skills? Is it knowledge? Is it connections? What is it that you can bring? You need to have on your hand. And your strengths and your weaknesses. One of the favorite questions of any recruiter. What is your weakness? And nobody ever knows how to answer that correctly. So we're going to go back to this again. This is the process. So this is actually the preparation part. Preparation about yourself and about the company that you're going to meet. That's where usually people fail. They don't fail because they don't know how to do a business plan or how to do marketing strategy or how to run the web seminars. They fail because they haven't prepared. So that's what anyone needs to put focus on. You also have 3 minutes to impress. That's the handshake, the eye contact, your body language, what you're wearing. We are very judgmental, everybody. We are very judgmental. Recruiters are very judgmental. So don't wear anything that will stick out, that will stand out. They will immediately look at that big earring or that red nail polish or that red tie that you were wearing. Wear something very neutral, very professional, but neutral, so that they don't actually remember what you were wearing, but they remember what you were saying. Especially down here, I work with a lot of clients in Monaco and a lot of candidates in Monaco, and I tell them, the designer bag goes out the door, watch goes out the door, everything brand goes out the door, and you be as neutral, professional as you can. Otherwise, that's what they will remember. And they will judge you. You have a father, you have a husband, you have a partner, whatever, and you will not be judged on your qualities. When it comes to the pitfalls, as I call them, my students, my MBA students, some of them are experienced and some of them are not. And especially the MBA students, they think that because they have an MBA, they can go quite high just after graduation. So what I usually do, in order for them to understand what I mean by how do you act in an interview, I make a comparison with something that everybody can relate to. I say that going on an interview is very similar as going on a date, in the way of thinking. So a lot of people ask about, so what do I say when they ask me about, do I have other opportunities? For a recruiter, for a hiring manager, when a candidate says, well, you know, this company has approached me and I am in contact with that company and I have lots of offers out there. It's the same thing as sitting on a date saying that who else you're dating at the same time. You don't want to confuse that message. At an interview, the person in front of you wants to think that this is the opportunity, this is the only opportunity that you'd like to pursue. You have the best career ambitions here, the best career progression, interest in this company, because that's how the interviewer feels. It's like being on a date. You want the person to be 100% committed and into you. And that's usually the message that my MBAs do. They always tell how many other companies are approaching, because they think if they do that, I'll get a higher salary. Well, it's just a no-go. It's a turn-off for the one on the other side. The same thing with when you talk about previous experiences. Be factual. Don't go down the route of, you know, didn't get along with my manager, had a difficulty with a colleague. Same thing with a date. Don't talk about the exes in a bad way. You can be factual. Yes, I was married for 3 years. I had a boyfriend 5 years ago. We were together for 7. Be factual, but don't go into any details. Nobody wants to hear about the past. And the same thing in an interview. Distance, no emotional feelings, factual. Otherwise you start, especially when you're nervous in an interview, and you start talking about something emotional. People usually very often get, you know, emotional in the meeting, and then they start talking, and then you can't really stop, and you're just digging a big hole, and then you can't find your way up again. So stay away from that. Stay away. What else do I need to talk about? Does anybody have questions about this part particular here. Did everybody understand what I meant by the feeling of the date? That's how you should feel when you go to an interview. You should put on the suit or the jacket or the shirt that actually makes you look really good. You should put your hair as you're going on a date really well. Put the clothes that fits you, that makes you comfortable. Because when you are comfortable, you perform better. That's proven. Exactly the way you should think. We're going to do actually an exercise based on this. You're going to turn to your neighbor, and you're going to list straight off the back 5 of your top skills or competences that kind of summarizes you. Okay, so we have 90 seconds. And you swap. Okay, 5, your top 5. Who are you? What are your skills? How easy was that? If you would have been in an interview right now, and I would have asked you that question, how well would you have done? I want you to grade yourself 1 to 10, 10 being really, really good. You nailed it. Can you do that now? Who graded themselves 8 or more? 8. So there's some work to do. This is what I'm talking about, the preparation part. One thing is to know about the company or about the role, but you need to do as much research on yourself before. So, in terms of the interview, from the interviewer, if any of you are looking to hire people or sometimes interview people, I have 3 tips that I like to give. That is also good for the rest of you, for that matter. In order to assess a candidate and see if there's any discrepancies, let's put it that way. I have, the first one is short-term versus long-term. Candidates sometimes can have, in my opinion, they have rehearsed what they want to do in the next year or so. So I ask them, what are your ambitions? What are you looking to do, right, let's say now or this year? And they have usually a good plan on that. And then a little bit later on in the interview, I ask them, so what about in 10 years? Where are you in 10 years? And then many people say, well, in 10 years, I think I'm going to have my own business. Well, if you're recruiting for a large corporate, then that's not the answer you're looking for. If somebody says, I'm going to be a CEO, well, you know they have a drive, for sure, ambition. And maybe that's, if you're looking for somebody that needs to grow in a sales role, then that's a very good answer, even though it is, yes, it's a high ambition, but it's the right kind of, it's the right motivation. The second one is your perspective versus others. So I very often ask, what is your 5 top skills? How would you explain yourself? Who are you? Tell me about yourself. And then if you ask, if I'd call up your manager, your previous manager, which we always do to do reference checks, right? What would they say? And then people tend to be quite honest because they know that it actually could be that they will call. So they will then start describing their skills, what the other person would, how they would explain them. And then if there's a big gap between what that person would say and what they've just described themselves at, then you have a problem. And then you need to dig in deeper. Is that just because of insecurity? Or is that something else lying there? Is there untruth, or is it not maybe the person in front of you that you think you have? So that's one way I'm checking that. Current abilities versus assisted, I call it. I ask them again, so what are your motivations and how are you going to move forward, etc. And they say, and I say, what skills do you want to, what is your weakness basically? And everybody has a weakness that they think of. It's usually something with, not very good with time management, I'm not good with saying no, I take on too much work. There are a few standard weaknesses that everybody uses, that everybody think are, safe weaknesses, so to speak. And then what I say, okay, so if in 5-year time, you're going to be the sales director for this operation, which skills do we need to help you with develop in this 5-year period of time? And then people tend to be quite honest. They know actually what their weaknesses, so to speak, are. What are the areas that they need assistance in order to get where they want to? And that's when I get the truth really out of them. Because a weakness is like, it's usually a lame kind of a weakness that people give. We are going to move on. If anybody have any questions about the interview part, please feel free. Otherwise, we're going to move on to LinkedIn. Yes?
Caroline, it's just a comment on people saying, well, in 10 years' time, I'd like to be an entrepreneur, and certainly wrong answer because, well,
if this is a corporate role that you're replying for.
Role. But I'm thinking about all the talented people that do have that in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think sometimes it's time for corporations also to change and say, well, why does that person want to be an entrepreneur? What are we not doing that this person is already thinking of jumping out? You know, but the corporations tend to be so big that they're a little bit like dinosaurs saying that's the wrong answer, and they can lose a lot of Steve Jobs keeping them in. But I understand your point. It's the memorizing of the answers that want to be heard. But wouldn't it be nice if they started to say, well, that's competition. People want to be entrepreneurs. Why? And what can we do to create that same experience?
But for a recruiter or for a hiring manager, it's money. You know, it's money to find the person, the process that it takes. Maybe you have to hire recruiters. You have to spend time on interviewing, and then you have to spend time on the teaching part. Develop them, make sure that they are into the program, into the company. So it's, if the person says that in X amount of years I'm going to be an entrepreneur, then they know that it's not wasted money, but it's, they'd rather have somebody that from the day one is committed. And then it never happens like that anyway. I mean, in 5 years' time, he will probably be with either a competitor or maybe start his own company. But again, let's go back to this dating phase, you know. You know, if we are on a date,
I love you.
And you know, you don't want to hear, you know, I love to, you know, date you now, but in 5 years I'm going to date somebody else, you know. Is that kind of, you know, it's the same kind of feeling that you.
What should I be doing now? Losing weight, going to the gym?
Yeah.
No, thank you
So
very
it's
much.
Yeah. So how many of you does not have a LinkedIn profile? 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Very well done. There are 277 profiles, 200 million profiles in the world or on this network, which is enormous. It is very, very, very powerful. How many of you have more than 500 connections? Okay. 50% of those 277 million people have more than 500 connections. LinkedIn is made for networking and build your network. That's how you see people, like physically see them when you're using LinkedIn. That's how other people see you. I always have my slogan, if you can't see the people you're looking for, they can't see you either. So networking is LinkedIn. The more connections you have, everything gets a lot easier. But there are 3 things that I want you to take with you today in terms of how to improve one's profile. It's the title, keywords, and the heading. That's the things that you can go home and do tomorrow. It's easy, and it will really boost your profile. So title. Title is, so the title you have at work, account manager, project manager, something coordinator. Recruiters like me, because there are 277 million people on LinkedIn, we use titles and we use the action verb, what you actually do when we search for people. So if I'm looking for somebody like Beverly, I would be looking for events, manager, organizer. I will not necessarily look for managing partner or founder, because it's not a title of, that's not what she does. So what I've done on my profile, I don't know if you can see, I am managing partner, yes, but I've also added executive search consultant, because that's what I do. Here I have a previous colleague of mine. She had just put consultant EMEA. I will never search for a consultant. I will search for the actual work. So what you should do is that you should add your skills. So we talk about those 5 skills again. Something that, you know, symbolizes you, your brand. Those 5 things that we just started to practice. That needs to be on there. So how LinkedIn works is that the more executive search I have on my titles, the stronger my profile is. So if you go home now and you type executive search Monaco as a location and press enter, I will come up first. Because that's how LinkedIn is engineered. So if you have moved from, if you moved from massage to finance, obviously you can't put it on there. But make sure that you have, and you can put a comma or some kind of line or something to distinguish it, so it's not part of your title, but it's what you do. Number one. Second one, keywords. Keywords are key. The same thing again, the more of the same vocabulary that is being used in your profile, when somebody like me searches for that area, events, marketing, skincare, yachting, real estate, whatever word I'm using, the more times you have it in your profile, I will find you and not your colleagues or not your competitors. So I would say you should have it at least between 5 and 10 times throughout your entire profile. So if you are in real estate, you would put in the executive summary, you're a real estate professional. You put it somewhere in a project. You put it in the work you're currently doing. You're putting it in the title so that everywhere it's real estate. And you can check this very easily by searching for yourself. So you go to LinkedIn, you click on the advanced button, then you get title, keywords, company name, and you can put in a lot of information. And you put in your own title in title, and then the location where you're based, if it's Nice, and you press enter, and you'll see you have to be on the first page. That's where you have to come up. Otherwise, your profile isn't good enough. And recruiters, because we have so much choice, we will only look for the candidates on the first or maybe the second page, and then we'll use another keyword. And those are the profiles that we will start contacting and start working with. The last one is the heading. Everybody thinks that the heading is just the title again. So you put executive search consultant. No, it's what you physically do that should be on this heading. So I've written, I'm experienced. I have almost a decade of working as a consultant, executive search. I'm an executive search consultant. I cover the US, EMEA. I'm an MBA career coach, and I'm based in Monaco. So everything that I actually do for a living is right in my heading. This is also good when people are searching. When you do a search and you get all the different names up, you see the picture of the face, and then you see exactly only this. So this is like almost a teaser for wanting to click on your profile and actually read further about you. So if you only have real estate manager, it's not that interesting to click on it. If you have somebody that has passionate about what they do or experience or another word that explains what you do, then I'd like to go in and check. Is that clear? Yeah? And this one is not so sensitive in terms of search. So if you put anything here and then you go in and search for example, the title search, then this won't be affected. So that's why you need to have the title also. It is not enough just having the heading here. You need to have the heading, you need to have the titles with the right vocabulary, and you need to have the keywords, all combined to have a strong profile. Picture is very key, important. Have an inviting picture, positive picture that people can relate to. As I said, try to be neutral. Try not to be judged in any way. I see a lot of funny photos, as you can imagine, both on CVs and on LinkedIn profiles. And those 5 things that we just practiced, that's basically your brand. That's what people will want to know you for. Make sure that these 5 things are listed in your LinkedIn, but also listed on your CV, so that there is it's like a thread throughout everything that you do, online and offline, on your cover letter, in the email when you send an application letter for our email, for example. Make sure that you mention those 5 skills again, so that it kind of there's a coherency between everything that you do. It makes your profile a much more stronger. And us as a recruiter, we get a very good feeling because we see that it's thought through. You have thought about it. We can really see that those skills you probably have. It's not something you just, took from right and left. It's actually something you've thought about. And that was it.